Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. We invite you to be part of the conversation by calling or texting 219-362-0522. You may also email your questions to soundoff at 967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. The on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. And now, Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Sound Off on this Monday. Stan Maddox here. Our guest today is LaPorte County Auditor Mike Rosenbaum. So give us a call, 362-0522, or text us at that same number as well. Our guest, once again, LaPorte County Auditor Mike Rosenbaum. And Mike, as always, welcome to Sound Off today.
Well, thank you, Stan. I heard you just recently got back from vacation, so hopefully that was good and you're rested and ready to go.
I'm rested, ready to go. Hopefully, I'll feel that way by the end of the day. We'll see how it goes.
Days, I know you start your day pretty early, so especially when you got to get the news out early and stuff like that. So, first of all, thank you for allowing me on the station. It's the first time this year.
First time this year since you made the switch. You were on the county council, and then you got elected as the LaPorte County Auditor. How's the transition gone, switching positions?
Well, you kind of think you know more than you do when you're on the council. I'm going to tell you that for a fact. But then when you finally get into the seat and you realize that you really need a lot of good help, and I've been very blessed to have somebody with 8 years of experience in the seat before me, and that's Joey Winsky joining me on the team. And then on top of that, we also have an office manager by the name of Brandy Mason, who people don't even know. And yet, unless you're within the county, and she's also extremely helpful on making sure we meet some deadlines, especially the state deadlines, things that need to get posted as well. And I could talk about every one of the staff members. I mean, I'm just thrilled to death to be working with them. I appreciate them. I think I've proven that to them. When it comes to family matters, we take care of family first. And so that part has been really good to work with people who want to be there and like each other and goes on. Because I think that throws off to the other people who are dealing with our office within the county, other people who come to the window. Sometimes you get somebody who's a little upset about a tax bill. Well, you know what? We talk about it. We work it out. We fix things that need to be fixed. And that's what we're doing. There's a lot of things a lot of changes that we've made, a lot of things that are going on. The state government decided they want to change our taxing, the way that we get the taxings and the money that is going to come in. We're having to deal with that. We're having to go into a budget season now, dealing with that, which actually we decided early on to start that a week earlier, and only to find out that there's some information that doesn't come in until that week. So we know that we were going to have another more budget hearings afterwards because of this process and learning what these different bills do. Most of them will affect us in future years, but you know what? We'll also be able to do that.
Yeah, I've heard projections that LaPorte County government could lose $2.4 million because of the property tax reduction statewide. How do you prepare for that? You're the auditor. Budget hearings are coming up. What's your role in all this?
Well, my role is to offer suggestions in this part, and because it's the council that are going to actually make the decisions. And it's one of the things you learn. You can only do certain things. But one of the things we look at our largest expenses, and we say payroll is our largest, and the second one right behind that is health insurance. What can we do? And also, do we need to operate with the workforce that we have now, or is there a way to reduce it? I don't have an answer. They're just, things that we're looking at. The state also, when they said, well, we'll reduce the state taxes or your ability to collect real and personal property taxes by this $2 million, how else can we get, find new ways or new revenues? And one of them is a wheel tax. It's already in the city of LaPorte. And I believe, I can't speak for the city of Michigan City, what their plans are. I've only heard rumored that they're planning on it because they also are hurting on things like that. And then the other avenue that we have available to the council is a local income tax and increasing. And I was part of the increase a few years back for public safety. And it has probably been the most helpful thing to be able to have first responders that are high quality employees, that we have enough of them to show up when something happens. And, if you've ever had an experience where you needed an ambulance or you needed some sort of service, I have found in my dealings with them, they've been extremely professional, and I couldn't have been happier to help do that. I mean, to meet the financial needs. So those are some of the things that we can offer suggestion. One of the things I'm bringing into play this year that hasn't been in the past is there's something new we're talking about is capital asset planning. So we've always known that the sheriff needs new vehicles every year, and they do it and stage it. They don't just replace all of their vehicles at once. We also know the same thing with the ambulances, but we don't realize how many other vehicles we have in other departments. So now we're asking each one of them. So if you have a 2018 vehicle and a 2019 vehicle, I mean, how many miles on them? How many more years do you think you're going to go? Because if you're going to need to ask for $50,000 or $75,000, we kind of need to know in long-term planning, and it shows whether or not we really need to put in additional local income tax. No one likes to put in new taxes, but you have to say, can we still provide the services? And we want to plan to do that. One of the other things that last year, what is the big thing that was heard about is putting in a time management system to make sure our employees can clock in, and we're getting, not saying that there's any cheating going on or anything like that. I'm not saying that. It's just a better way to control that, so we know who's working and when they're working and all of that. And so we're now currently back interviewing the companies again, and the implementation for that isn't until 2026. It's going to be a long and hard effort because you got to do everything individually for each one of the departments, and that includes talking with the sheriff's department who have a timing system, with the highway department, with the maintenance department. There are 7 different timing systems already in there. So again, that's going to be a long-term cost that'll add to the cost. So we're starting to look at these things.
Yeah, I mean, to be ready for a reduction of $2.4 million, I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, what's the county's annual budget? About $100 million?
No, the county itself is in the 50 million. We collect over $100 million, but that's got to be dispersed to the cities and to the schools and all of the local communities. So if you were to say that we're about 50 something, low 50% of what's collected. So that's also another thing. Just because we say that we have a $54 million budget per se, but if we don't collect the tax money, we don't have $54 million to spend. And people don't realize that there's some amount that is not collected. And we spend effort on trying to make sure that things do get collected. We're going to have a tax sale, and that's done in coordination with the Treasurer's Office, and that's now scheduled for in the second or third week of October. I want to say a date, but I don't want to tell you the wrong date, so I didn't write it down. I think it's on my brother's birthday on October 16th, but we have to look and double check. I could be wrong. So that's why I said I really didn't want. I'm just throwing it out. That weekish is the time that we'll do that. The other thing we look at is people who have multiple homesteads in multiple states, and then we bill them for that when we find it, because by law they can't have a husband can't have one in one place and the wife can't have it in the other. They can only get one. So every now and then, we find a few, and actually those funds that we collect. The first year, they go into a special fund, which is allowing the auditor's office to help pay for an employee. So, there's different things that we're doing. So we're taking that out of the general fund, even though this money could arguably be there. So we're trying to find other ways and grants. Other departments are trying to find grants to help pay for things too. So there are just, as we say, lots of little things that can happen. And I can tell you there's some departments that are really good at writing grants. We get a lot of a lot of money from the state on community crossroads. And that gives us $1 million, and then we have to match it with another $1 million, and then if it goes over, we have to do that. So we usually end up getting possibly more than one or two of those. And it's funny, you never know. These things will come up in the future. So we now know that in the future we're going to have to meet those demands. So remember how I talked about this capital asset planning? Well, this is also included in there. And so our county planner has offered, who I've been working with, and he's been giving us a schedule of what we expect in what year. And so that way we know if we need $1 million. Now, most of those funds come from local roads and streets, or some of the stuff on some of the bridges. They'll come from the bridge funds that are also the transportation funds that we're currently receiving. So we look to try and go from there first, and then try and free up the other monies from the regular general fund and to use for what we can. So there's nothing that's not looked at this point, unless I don't know about it. But see, this is where, you get the opportunity to work with 91 other people who are in the same shoes that you are. And that actually, we have the Auditors Conference comes up in a few weeks, and it's just a few days long. So I'm going to take the time to meet up with them, and it's in the Indianapolis area. And it's great because we get to focus and talk. And there's a lot of times that we do email groups to help answer questions. And I myself had quite a few things that when I first came in, some people were saying, and I'm saying, do other counties do this? We want to do first what's right. And the second thing we want to do is we want to make sure that it is that other counties are also doing it, because maybe they have a better way. Maybe they have a system. And so we've been to some training with the State Board of Accounts, and we found some better systems. So we're slowly taking a one-page form can save so much hassle when you have everything organized and located on that form of all the information you need. And so we're seeing a lot of that cooperation, and the state has been tremendous. When we don't have an answer to something, we have specific people assigned to our county, and they have been helpful. We lost somebody that was a year ago. She moved up the ladder, and so then we got somebody else who's also been terrific. So there's been no change just because some people have moved on and moved up. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to working with people, the state's been very happy with us. And by the way, I want to talk about the audits real quick. Just mention the 2024 audit's supposed to start any week now.
Okay.
So
that's an annual thing, right?
That's an annual thing, but we finally got caught up through 2023. That has been released. And now we're up to the normal year of 2024. And whatever adjustments, whatever findings, those will come out probably. The process takes a few months. And then we're going to get back to being on normal. And that's when we can get our credit rating again and some other things. And we're just looking positive, moving forward. What are the things we need to do? And that's what we're focused and working on.
Yeah, getting back to normal again. Let's talk about that. What's been abnormal under the previous auditor? That's when the county lost its solid credit rating, right?
Yeah.
What do you call it? A gold credit rating or a AAA?
Well, I'll say we really did have an excellent credit rating prior to it. But, the same part is our county doesn't like to borrow money unless we have a super big project. And I'm very, I like to say that I know that I was part of the final decisions on the last one, which was the Michigan City Courthouse. So having experience there. So there are some times where it'd be nice to have some short-term funding, but we haven't had to really need it. We just have to be smart on how we spend our money. But the biggest thing, and I really don't want to, I just want to be moving forward. But one of the things that we found at the beginning of the year is that there were some bills that were not paid from last year. And so I was surprised to see that some of them went back to May of 2024. And so we quickly, worked on getting those numbers paid. And to this date, I can only think of one bill that's not paid from back then because we're working on it. It's not an easy answer. It's very complicated when you have, when you have multiple payments. One of the things that we do is if we use a certain vendor, and every department uses that vendor, We pay everything out of different funds, and for each department. So sometimes we're writing a lot of small checks, even though we could be writing, 18 checks for $500 worth of stuff. But I'd rather do that, and everything gets recorded properly. So some of that is happening with cleaning it up. But I would say, I did get surprised this past couple of weeks where there was a bill from last June that wasn't paid that just came up out of the blue, and it was for a conference. And it was a conference that I attended that was put in to be paid, and I'll let that speak for itself. And so the fact that I'm paying it now, and unfortunately it's being paid out of current funds instead of the prior funds where it should have been, it just means that we spend a little less this year on those funds. But you know what? We can manage that, But those are the things that we worked on. And, one of the other things, we had some lawsuits outstanding, that anything that we could settle, we worked with the attorneys to settle. Anything we can't settle, we just need to get things out of the way, get things done, like I said, and get and improve the systems. And that's also internal controls. It's one thing to say that everybody watches an internal control video for 28 minutes. They sign off and say they did it. It's another thing to actually put in play real internal controls where somebody does the work and somebody reviews it. So this way we avoid mistakes. And, mistakes get made. We're all human. But when you have somebody else backing you up, there's less likely that it's going to get through. Something's going to get caught. Unless there's something to do with a name that's so close to another name, or the bill looks like it's for a different municipality than what it actually was for. Sometimes those things get caught up, and there's a little snafu. But there were things that were the LaPorte School Board didn't get paid $85,000, or $85,000 was deducted from them during settlement last fall. That was a mistake. That when you have somebody else looking over your shoulder, you're going to catch a big number like that. And I just think that that's just, knowing that you need to have internal controls.
Yeah, there was a check last year, right, for over $2 million. That was a phone scam, and it got issued by the auditor's office under the former administration. Well, is that one of the reasons for better internal controls? Well,
we immediately last year there was a stop on it. First of all, it was an email scam. It was regarding a vendor that we use, and to say that we were lucky that it got caught. We lost just under $3,000 to that scam, but we didn't lose. We also had an opportunity to lose almost $2,470,000, just under $2.5 million, and that got stopped. It got caught. But those types of internal controls require additional training. And we're required annually by our own rules to do additional training. We currently have new employees taking that internal control training. If there's more offered for the state, we'll do that, but we are required to train our employees. I have found articles that are related to banking scams, and I forwarded them on to the employees in the auditor's office. I have them confirm that they've read it, and that adds to our internal controls. It adds to their awareness, even if they're not handling the writing up the checks. It doesn't matter. Everybody is now looking at the same thing. And even people, I have a real estate department, I have an insurance person, I have financial people, I have people who do payables. So with all of these different things, it's very positive that we're able to talk things out, and just, it's amazing. Sometimes you just ask somebody, what would make your day better, or what would make your job easier? And then we can do those things. And getting help from other members in other departments, the department heads, they're very critical to, and their staff is very critical to getting things right. We need to have, one department has not entered bills. They don't have a lot of bills. They don't have a lot of employees, but they hadn't entered bills since February. Now, they're using some local vendors. That's not acceptable to me. So I contacted that department head and I said, listen, if you forgot how to do it, if you need more training, if you need any help, we'll do that. And this is a new person. Nothing's very easy when you first come in. That's why you're lucky. I'm lucky when I'm surrounded by people, like I said, the two names before. But if somebody isn't surrounded by that or refuses to use the people that you have with you that could help you, then, we got to step in. We got to get things done. And so I'm glad to say that those things are now being done. And we also have a two-step process of reviewing claims.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a minute. We got to take a quick commercial break. Stay with us here on Sound Off.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling the on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
And welcome back to Sound Off on this Monday. Our guest again, LaPorte County Auditor Mike Rosenbaum. Give us a call, 362-0522. Looks like we have a phone call waiting. Let's get right to it. You're on Sound Off with Mike Rosenbaum.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Rosenbaum said during your interview with him there that he was going down to a conference, and then he didn't say where the conference was, what resort it's going to be at. And I was wondering, did he get that approved by the commission to spend that money, or by the council, whoever's doing it now? Because we turned down another official for going to a conference. And last, he said he's going to have an audit by the state coming up here in another week or so. And he said there was problems before with audits done on the county. And one of the big problems was in the Treasurer's Department. She had not balanced the simple thing of her checkbooks, her various accounts. And now he says, he's hired her to help him do these things in his office. Is that the only person that was available to be hired for that position?
Okay, Mike, what's your response? Of course, last year the treasurer is Joey Winsky.
Let me go through this in order that he gave it, if you don't mind, because I wrote down notes. So first of all, the conference, I said it was in Indy, so it's within the state. The other conference that you're talking about was a vendors conference. It was not a state-called conference. This is a state-called conference, and actually the auditor's state. So, yes, I did get permission because I did follow the rules on that. If they told me I couldn't go, then I wouldn't go, but I am going. About the audit 2024, about prior years, there are compliance reports that are 49 pages or more long from the prior audits. I welcome you to go out to Gateway and see what the problems were. I don't want to speak bad about the others. As far as the next thing, the treasurer and attacking my chief deputy, shame on you, first of all. This is a person that has extremely high integrity. What you say, you were misinformed about what was going on in the treasurer's office. That started before she even took office. That was through a previous treasurer, Lynn Spivak, and her chief deputy, which is still the chief deputy somewhere else. And I don't want to bring up her name because I don't want anybody to misassociate or misunderstand what I'm saying. The problem was the proper reconciliation of the bank accounts. And so what happened was when Joey Winsky got in there, she had to go back 2 years and then continue forward for the 4 years that she was there. It was supposed to be reconciled with what the auditors did. And what we found out, and here's the truth, this is what we found out. The treasurer's office has to record in their system every transaction. They were then getting that done, fixing that problem. The auditor's office was supposed to be doing the same thing. They were not. It takes cooperation between the two. So you were misinformed. There's a Form 61 is what it's called that has to be done on a monthly basis. They were finally filed timely by January of 2020, before January 2025. We worked on the last one in December 2024 to get that filed timely. But we also had to make a big adjustment to the 2023 audit for prior years' items that were not recorded on the auditor's financial books and records. So you have to ask, where is the problem? And you want to pinpoint it on, say it as treasurers? I think there's a true misunderstanding of what was going on out there. And if this is something about parties, about Democratic versus Republican Party stuff, you find the best person that's available. And yes, she was absolutely the best person available. The second best person is the office manager. And then there are other people that I would take into that office way before I would ever try and work with the former chief deputy.
Okay. Yeah, you being a Republican and your chief deputy being a Democrat, have you felt some friction, any problems from within the party, perhaps, because you went and chose a Democrat?
Well, the previous auditor did the same thing his first 2+ years. So I don't think that I'm doing anything different. He found the best person that he had available to him back then. I found somebody with 8 years experience in that office. I don't think you can top that. And if you ask people downstate, this is another thing that people don't know. The State Board of Accounts, the Department of Legal and Government Finance, both of them have high regard for Joey Winsky. And I've worked with her when I was on the council my first 2 years before we worked with the last auditor. So let me tell you something. Those first 2 years, I was training and learning. I got good information. I would ask good questions. I would get more information. Whatever I needed, she made available to me along with her staff. And she had a good chief deputy back then. And I thank her. She's now moved on to private industry. And I wish her continued success in her private job. It certainly pays better than a government job as well. But as far as that goes, you find the right person. Right now, we have a couple people that were selected, and just because they were Republicans last year doesn't mean they're the best person for the job. But hopefully they turn into the best person. And that takes the training and the willingness to work with others. But we've got some people who just don't want to do that. And really, you need to be open, and to move forward, you need to be able to work with the best people. And yes, there's no question that was the best person available. There's somebody else who also works for the county that was also in the auditor's office for a long period of time, and that too was another Democrat. What am I supposed to say? So the last person who held this seat as auditor, lost 4 elections last year. So what does that say to you? All right, let's move on.
All right. Hey, we got a quick text message here. This person says, I turned 65 in December. When can or should I file the paperwork for the over 65 property tax deduction? How do I go about doing that?
Well, first of all, bring in proof of age, come to the office, and we've got great staff that'll help you. We have a lot of people right now out this week at the fair, but we still have staffing there, and that can help to do that. But that would be the best thing to do. You do need to do it. It's better to do it in person if you can. We are on the second floor. There is an elevator in the building, so that'll get you there too. And I'm 66, so I had to go through this process a year ago.
Okay. This person is asking, are you going to be at the livestock auction at the fair on Friday?
Well, I've got lots of letters from kids who know that I'm there. So,
you buy some of the 4-H livestock, don't you?
Last year I walked away with, I think, 6 chickens, and I contributed to pigs, to sheep, and to the beef categories as well. Sorry about the goats. Sorry, and the rabbits. I have not done those in the past couple of years. There's only so much money to go around. And also, financially, I'll tell you honestly, personally, I went from a job that paid me more than twice as much of what I'm earning as a county auditor. I make a whopping $78,019. So it's public information. You're more than welcome. I could be off by a few dollars, but it's not much more than that. And yeah, I was making more than double that. But again, I just told you my age. It was time for me to find something else to do. And so this kind of worked into the right thing to do.
All right, great. I tell you what, let's take another commercial break. Stay with us here and Sound Up.
What are you waiting for? The lines are open on Sound Off. Text or dial your questions now to 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off on 96.7, The Eagle.
And welcome back to Sound Off. Our guest, LaPorte County Auditor Mike Rosenbaum. Just a couple of minutes to go. Mike, somebody sent us a text message. They're asking, what is the income threshold to qualify for the over 65 property tax deduction?
Well, first of all, I don't qualify. So the income level, there's 2 levels that you need to be concerned about, assessed value, but you asked about the income level. And for a single person, it's just under $34,500. And for a married person, it's just under $46,000. So those are the things qualifying. But also, your assessed value limitations can't be more than $182,430. That I actually had the opportunity because we got the question just before the break, and I was able to look it up to Google it. So that's what I was able to find in 2 seconds. No, I don't always retain that information in my head, so I look for the best resources available. So thank you for giving me that chance.
Okay, and then another listener, basically, you answered that person's questions as well about the over 65 tax deduction. So, LaPorte County Fair, any thought? Have you been out there yet? It started Saturday, and of course they had the ham and bean dinner yesterday, and they unveiled the plaque for Dick Reel.
I'm sorry I missed that the plaque for Dick because he was such a great guy to work with. But I've spent about approximately 14 hours there over the weekend. I enjoy being a shuttle. One of the people volunteered to drive the shuttle, but that doesn't mean I don't get the opportunity to stop at all of the various animal barns and see people I've met in the past, meet new people, see how hard some of these kids work to keep that place clean, to take care of their animals. I'm in awe. I don't forget that I'm a city kid, and I don't forget that life is different as in a community out here. And I've actually made some really good friends who are good farmers. I now rarely buy beef at the store. I rarely buy lamb at the store. And last year, I think I walked away with 6 or 7 chickens, which really take up a lot of room in the freezer, which my wife said, please don't do that again. But no, I'll just donate it. But anyway, so it is so great to see the people and have them to tell you. And also, the best comments we're getting is all the money that's been invested in the fairgrounds has really been starting to show, especially when you take some of the worst buildings and remove them and replace them with even larger buildings like the show arena. Now, there may be some things that need to be worked out in the future because that thing got built this year and since the spring, and it's amazing. The size of it, the number of people you can sit in there. I haven't been inside of it for a show yet, but I just see the number of people that can be inside the show and the number of animals they can line up getting ready for it. So it's a great time. Food vendors, there's some new one. There's a new one that I'm really interested at, but they're so good. But I'm going to tell you the first thing I'm going to do is, and I did it this year, was I went to Burek's Corn. Just local, great farmer, great. They have their own stand locally, and it's just that's my go-to to start with, and then I'll move on to a pork tenderloin. I'll move on to a steak sandwich. So I think you may know that there's a couple others that I visit, and I may find a gyro before it's over. But the best thing is. One of the other things I do is...
the best way to find you is on a cart with a bunch of napkins.
It's that and water, because I'm going to tell you definitely need to keep hydrated out there. And the first day, one of the reasons why I left a little early was I didn't stay as hydrated as I needed to, and I wasn't feeling great. And I said, you know what? I don't take chances with my health on that part. And like I said, I just enjoy. But I started to mention that I substitute teach, and I see a lot of kids from the school systems, and also because I've also done baseball, I see a lot of kids from baseball, and then their younger siblings, and it just goes on, our staff and stuff. So with that, I'm going to say thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for coming on Sound Off today. We look forward to your next visit. Thanks for listening out there. We'll see you next time. We'll see you Friday, our next edition of Sound Off. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion on this edition of Sound Off.
Oh, hey!
The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. Sound Off airs live every Monday and Friday, immediately following Update 12 News, and is available online after the show is over under the podcast menu at hometownnewsnow.com. Mark your calendar and join us again for the next edition of Sound Off, right here on 96.7 The Eagle.